We have an amazing show in store for you today. I have a good friend of mine who is just a real sweetheart, a real brilliant thinker. She is so passionate about her subject, and that is pelvic floor. Now, there's a little over 600 muscles in the human body. Some of us humans have a few more muscles and different attachments than others. There's about 600 muscles in the human body. But some of the most important tissues, especially as you get beyond the age of 50, including, of course, for women, right? Because by the age of about 70, what the research shows us is that about 50% of women have prolapse by the age of 70. And even if you don't fully have prolapse, weakness in your pelvic floor can cause some serious issues. Incontinence issues with decreased sexual stimulation, issues with lower back pain, with pelvic alignment. You know, you want to think like your pelvis, right? Your pelvis is the center of your body. It's where your upper body, the spine, comes down and attaches to your lower body. It's the center point. And this most stabilized foundational point of the pelvis is your pelvic floor. It's what attaches your sacrum into your pubic bone. So not only do we have all these vital functionalities of the body, which rely on proper pelvic floor function and sexual issues as well, but also pain and alignment and the entire body being stabilized very much by these tissues in this area. And as we get beyond the age of 50, fitness is not the same as it was when you're in your teens, in your 20s, right? And that's why you're here, partly. So it's pelvic floor. I can't say enough about how important it is. It's so important that we have Jana Danielson here with us just to do a whole segment on pelvic floor. She's going to give us some really awesome wisdom on the pelvic floor. She's going to give you some actual things you can apply. And she is, let me tell you more about her, and then I'll give you some personal notes about her as well. So Jana Danielson is an award-winning wellness expert, and who, through her own experience with physical pain, turned her mess into her message, which has now become her mission. And she's an Amazon best-selling international author, founder of Lead Pilates and Lead Integrated Health Therapies, and the Meta District, which is her online wellness community. Jana is a member of the Holistic Leadership Council. She is also the creator of the Cooch ball and the world's first patented pelvic floor fitness tool for women. And she also has an item for men she's going to be talking to us about as well. Jana has coached and consulted with tens of thousands of women from all over the world to help improve their quality of life, their confidence, and their impact in this world. And let me tell you this, from a personal side, I know a lot of Jana's family members. She comes from a family lineage of highly successful humans, okay? This is a family that's like a who's who, super successful in different areas. So when an individual from this family gets involved in something, which Jana has with pelvic floor, they always basically become the best. So she's definitely one of the best, following in her family's footsteps. Most of them are entrepreneurs. She's like, I want to do something that really impact humans. And I've had this personal experience in my own life. So she's developed this amazing wisdom, tools, and things that are truly going to help you. So I'm very grateful and honored to have her here with you today and to share with all of us her profound message. Jana, welcome.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I feel like one of those bobblehead dolls with, you know, the really big head after that. After that intro, thank you so much. Hey everybody, it's so great to be here today. I became fast friends with Robbie and his beautiful wife, Patricia. And you know how you just meet people and there's like that, I know I just met you, but there's this familiarity, and we knew we had to work together and support each other. And that's exactly what we're doing. And it's been amazing. So I am actually coming to you from my rental in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. We're living in Mexico right now, my family and I, but we're here for the summer. So you can see a hockey stick. You can see a bunch of golf balls there. You can see, so I want to just let you know that this isn't my normal gig location. So thank you for, putting up with what's behind me, but we have a jam-packed, just half hour, 40 minutes together. I'm going to, this is going to be a dance between Robbie and I. I'm going to do my best to educate and inspire you to understand this part of our body that many of us do not really even acknowledge. You're going to know something new about your body when you leave here today. And I promise you, there will be one action, simple action out of many that you'll be able to choose to start today that's going to improve your understanding about not only your pelvic floor health, but your health in general. Because like I always say, we're not potato head dolls. We're not Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, where we can put on like our big juicy lips for date night and our strong arms for our workout. We're a series of systems. And just like our vehicle, when one system, when your wheels need alignment, the operation of the whole vehicle is impacted. It's exactly how it is with us. We need to move past that parts, the parts strategy to wellness and understand how we function as a whole. So thanks, Robbie, for having me here today.
Of course. Awesome. I love what you shared, because that's an analogy that I always give is like, like a lot of issues that we deal with, like back pain or hip or shoulder or any area of the body. But, a lot of individuals like, should I do therapy or should I get a surgery if I have a body part that's really broken down that I'm having repeated issues with? And ortho's telling me that, surgery is probably the option. And it's like, that's definitely not the right way to think about it if you want to be a functional, high quality of life human, because that part wearing out or having an issue is like the tire wearing out in your car, or like on the outside tread, for example, right? And it's not the tire that's the issue. It's the overall alignment and functionality of the vehicle that's putting excess pressure and stress on that part of the vehicle. And the human is the same exact type of a mechanical structure. The amazing thing about the human is you get to control and create that functionality. So when you connect this thing here, where your nervous system begins, the higher centers of your brain and the motor cortex through the spinal cord into any area of your body, including the pelvic floor, then what happens is you get better neuroconductivity, better connection. And with that, you're going to have improvement. So you get to fix the alignment of your car by choice, if you choose. So Jana, why don't you tell us why pelvic floor? Like what got you into pelvic floor, and why did you find that so important that you've made an entire career out of just pelvic floor?
Yeah. So, my initial career was I did my undergraduate and my master's degree in business. I was wanting one day to own my own business, but was spending some time in the corporate world. And as you mentioned in my bio, was gifted a pain journey. And my pain journey was digestive in nature. I am the eldest of 3 kids, grew up in a very entrepreneurial farm family, wanted to do good in sports and school. And with that, I just started getting these stomach aches. And my family would always say, oh, it's Jana. She's just so driven, right? And that's really what we chalked it up to. Fast forward, when I went to university, I had 4 years of increased pain and discomfort. And those of you who have lived with any kind of pain, and it can be just as simple as stubbing your toe, or it can be chronic back pain or chronic headaches, that even though the pain might be in a location that you can point to, it impacts the entire body. So my pain, I was told after 2 years of doctors and specialists that the pain, my digestive pain, was in my head, that I was seeking attention, and my medical team wished me a nice life. And so after I, dusted myself off and realized that couldn't be my life, I was 21 years old and I was newly engaged and I wanted to be a mom and all these things, I maybe started to think that I was looking for healing and wellness in the wrong place. And the true story, I actually saw Madonna on the cover of a fitness magazine in the fall of 1999. And there was an article all about Pilates. And I was teaching fitness in university to pay for tuition. So I was teaching spin classes and step classes. And Those of you that remember the Reebok slide days, I would teach all of those. And read this article about this form of movement that was about alignment, breathing, and the way we moved our spine. And it showed pictures of people who looked super healthy. And there was a bit of a disconnect for me, because in my mind, I thought healthy meant puddle of sweat on the floor. I thought, healthy meant can't wash your hair the next morning because your arms are so wrecked from your arm workout the day before. And it made me start to be open to just a new way of moving. And I bought that magazine and I read that article probably about 10 different times when I got home. And I found a Pilates class, and I went to my first class in September of 1999. And by Christmas time, I was off all 11 medications. I was on 11 meds every day. I was off all those medications, and it's like I got a new lease on life. My pain was gone. My body never felt healthier. I was sleeping better. I was eating better. Just my persona changed because I wasn't living with this steel-clad backpack of pain every day of my life. And Pilates for me literally changed my entire trajectory of my career. I got certified in Pilates as a hobby, taught out of our basement. By then I had 3 little boys. They were like not even a year and 2.5 and 4. And people started coming, and 2 classes turned into 16 classes. And then we sold some extra grain. We were still farming. We bought some Pilates equipment, and literally the rest is history. I opened a brick and mortar Pilates studio in 2010. I expanded to a 9,000 square foot facility that included an integrated health therapies clinic, chiro, physio, massage, nutrition, acupuncture, mental health services, nutrition services. And I just sold that business, grew it to a team of 60 clinicians, administrators, and instructors. And now I do this. And I fell in love with pelvic floor health because as a Pilates instructor, I learned very quickly that unbeknownst to many of us, the pelvic floor is literally a piece of our core. It's a section of our core. And we work so hard. We chase that 6-pack. We chase that, that chiseled waist, that snatched waist, and that quality of life that we all want. And I was like, how did I not know that the pelvic floor was a part of our core structure? And ever since then, I fell in love with it because it's not talked about enough. I wanted to draw my line in the sand, especially when I learned that the incontinence product industry is a $21 billion industry. The erectile dysfunction drug industry is a $9 billion industry. And the research shows that in 9 out of 10 bodies that have some sort of pelvic floor dysfunction, whether it's incontinence, erectile dysfunction, pain during intercourse, low back pain, constipation, cold tingly feet, it goes on and on and on. 9 out of 10 people can fix that with proper movement. It's a fitness issue, not a medical issue. Only 1 person out of that 10 needs a medical intervention. Well, that opened up a whole new realm of possibility to me. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's awesome, Jana. Yeah, we're exactly. And it's interesting. Most body, so many body ailments are exactly like that. Like, acid reflux is actually, most people don't realize that is a mechanical issue. Pelvic floors, mechanical issue. So many things that people think are something else is actually really starts with your biomechanics. So what do you think? Let's start with, do you have something that can help individuals here maybe consider what level of pelvic floor issue they have? Let's start with figuring out and helping everyone to really personalize this, figure out like where you're at. Are you having these kind of issues? What does it feel like? What would the weakness be? And then let's get into some levels of actual treatment and improvements. If I can invite you to go in that direction.
Yeah, for sure. Let me start this piece of our conversation with helping people understand that when I mentioned that the pelvic floor is a part of our core, let's just build that out really quickly. All right. So just like an apple, when you eat an apple and the core is left, we have a core. It's a 360 degree cylinder, and there's a roof and there's a ceiling. All right. So your ribs, all right, that cylinder are the 4 sets of abdominals. You have your 6-pack, which is closest to the skin. Then your 2 oblique muscles, internal and external, that work together to create this X-shape simple machine. Then deeper to that, we have our transverse abs, which start in our low back and wrap like one of those thick Olympic weight lifting belts or a corset to the front of the body. All right. The roof of the core is our diaphragm, the main muscle of respiration. When you breathe in through your mouth or in through your nose, like you're smelling a fresh baked apple pie, and an exhale, like you're fogging up a mirror, that's a diaphragmatic breath. The diaphragm sits in the rib cage and the crest of the rib cage like an open umbrella or a mushroom cap. Okay. It sits right under the chest. Now the floor literally is our pelvic floor. The mechanics of the roof and the ceiling are really important because they work together or they don't work together. And what I mean by that is when we are not breathing properly using our diaphragm, when we start breathing with our little neck muscles, which our body is meant to do as secondary breathers, okay, these scalenes and sternocleidomastoids. So those of you here on the call that are like living in chronic neck tension, that go for your chiro, your massage, your acupuncture, and 48 hours later cannot wait for your next appointment, you're actually taught your body how to breathe with these little beef jerky muscles instead of that big mushroom cap muscle. And that's a huge problem because you can get tension like TMJ, you can get a lot of headaches, brain fog, that forward posture because of that. And so understanding that a proper breath is enough to give some CPR to the pelvic floor is a huge aha moment, I think, for many people. So when you breathe diaphragmatically, that mushroom cap starts to wake up the floor underneath it. It's not an overnight thing, but I think people need to understand the biomechanics that our breath actually is the main kind of dictator of the health of our pelvic floor. So if you're someone who lives with a lot of anxiety or tension and you're holding your breath a lot of the time, or, or watching a scary movie, if that's perpetually you, that pelvic floor can actually become dysfunctional in one of 2 ways. All right. So if you think of a number line, a continuum, all right, on one end, there is a pelvic floor that is hypertonic, HYPER. That pelvic floor is like this. It's a rock wall. It's hard. Okay. And you're in Robbie's community. So you know that a tight muscle, if this is a mathematical equation, a tight muscle does not equal a strong muscle. A strong muscle has characteristics to lift and push, for sure, to bear weight, to bear load, but a strong muscle can also move. So if your big, bull mastiff starts taking off after a cat and pulls you on the leash, you're not going to rip a bicep tendon because that dog went, kind of took off on you. That's what a strong muscle can do. A strong muscle can bear weight and bear load, and it can also move in a range of motion, and it can also rest. So when you have hypertone, too much tone, you give your kids sugar, they're hyper all over the place. Our muscles get hypertone, they get tight, too much tension. All right. That's one end of the spectrum. If we come across to the other side, it's hypo, HYPO, lacking tone. All right. Both are dysfunctional. Too tight is dysfunctional. Lacking tone is dysfunctional. We want to bring those 2 in the middle where there is function, where there is work, where there is rest. And that's where we can start to support the body, not just at the gym or, when we go for a run or our walk, but truly in our activities of daily living. All right. So let's talk about some of the ways or some of the symptoms or some of the experiences you might be having to determine where you are on that number line. And I have to say, it's not like an easy, I'm here. If this was 0 to 10, well, I'm at a 1 or I'm at a 7. It's not that simple. Things like a road trip, things like, falling off your bike or, holding a newborn baby, or like these things that our body goes through can shift you on the number line really quickly. All right. So hypertonic, too tight, some of the common symptoms or assessments are if you cough or sneeze, or like if you're laughing your butt off at something and you leak a little bit, that's a pretty good indicator that there's hypertone, too much tone there. All right. If there is generalized pelvic floor pain, all right, there can be too much tone. Pain during intercourse is a telltale sign that there is too much tone. And, I'm going to share a quick story here about pain during intercourse. I was working with a young woman who was a teacher. She was also a Highland dancer for many, many years. And if you know Highland dance or the river dance, right, people, Michael Flatley, you know that those dancers have a very stoic, non-moving upper body, and their legs are just going like crazy. So the pelvic floor is really under a lot of stress in that situation. Well, 20 years of that in her body created a very hypertonic pelvic floor. Now, she was newly married, about 6 or 8 months. She came to me in tears because she was worried actually that her marriage was not going to last because she had so much pain during sex with her new husband that she could not let go. And in fact, it got to the point where they had their Wednesday was their day where they would have sex. By Monday night, she would get headaches, she would get gut aches, and she hardly slept Monday night and Tuesday night because she knew that Wednesday, her body was going to be completely in pain because of this. We started working on pelvic floor, breathing, understanding what the letting go of that muscle would feel like, because you have to feel it. And after about 3 months, she started noticing that there was less pain. 6 months, the pain was almost gone. And 9 months after she started seeing me, they were pregnant with their first baby. And so this is an example of really turning back the hands of time when you understand where you are in that continuum and what you need to do. A lot of people don't realize that cold, tingly feet and constipation are often symptoms or situations of a tight pelvic floor. We think about pelvic floor as urinary incontinence, but the anus is part of that structure. And if there's fecal incontinence, which is the opposite end of constipation, but that's all part of this whole pelvic floor situation, and why we need to talk about it more, become educated so that we can prevent versus have to rehab or fix it. All right. For men, erectile dysfunction is a sign of a pelvic floor that is too tight. So what do we do about that? Pelvic floor physiotherapy. I'm a huge proponent of pelvic floor physiotherapy. So there are physiotherapists that have specialized training for pelvic floor. Women, it is vaginally. Guys, it's accessed anally. And sometimes it just takes a couple of sessions for, the manual therapy to release, the years and years of conditioned tightness those muscles have. You're going to know when you start to move down the continuum, when you can feel less pain. Pain is a good indicator that, we're starting to get a little bit of a better situation there. And it all starts with diaphragmatic breathing. Anybody in that hypertonic phase, the best thing you can do is start to learn how to breathe diaphragmatically, because what that's doing unbeknownst to you is it is nurturing and kicking on what's called your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. The alarm bells in your brain are being shut off. The cortisol, the stress hormone that's being pumped through your body, that, you're turning that off as well. And you actually start to heal from that extreme tightness. On the other end of the spectrum, we have a lack of tone. A lot of women talk to me about lack of tone, like urge incontinence, like they're running to the bathroom all the time. They're waking up 3, 4, 5 times at night to go to the bathroom. Urge incontinence is a function of that bladder and the muscles. You have muscles in your bladder. The muscles in your bladder not understanding their proper function, or you may have trained the neural network in your brain to trigger, I got to go to the bathroom when your bladder is maybe only 10 or 20 or 30% full. And this is classic mom stuff, right? You're getting ready to go on a trip with your kids. Can you guys go to the bathroom? Mom, I don't need to go. We'll just go try, but I don't need to go. We'll just go try, but I don't need to go, right? That's exactly like us. Oh, I'm going to go for groceries. I better go to the bathroom, but do I really need to go? Or am I just going, right? So we start to train our systems to turn on when that bladder is nowhere near full, and we just play into more and more and more of this urge incontinence. Pelvic organ prolapse, okay? Our bladder, our uterus, it can actually start to descend. You guys, we live on a planet with gravity. Things get pulled downward, right? I'm going to be 50 in about 6 months, right? So I'm starting to really notice some of this, and I'm staying consistent with all of my lifestyle choices so that I don't have to be dealing with, the prolapse situation. Now let's talk about that, because there's 4 different grades of prolapse: grade 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. So grade 1, I've actually had a grade 1 prolapse. If you have seasonal allergies, or if you had a bad cold and you were sneezing and coughing for, let's even say, just 2 or 3 days, that intra-abdominal pressure on your pelvic floor can create a grade 1 or a level 1 prolapse. And this happened a few winters ago. And at my clinic, I had a pelvic floor physiotherapy or therapist. So I would go and see Olivia, and she checked me out that one time before Christmas. And she's like, "Hey, you got a grade 1 prolapse." And I was like, "What?" And so, I just did a little bit more of my Cooch ball. She gave me some exercises to do. And of course, when I went back the next time, I was totally fine. But if you don't understand that, it can become a bit of a slippery slope. Grade 1, where there's acute tightness or acute lack of tone, can be fixed. Grade 2, it has progressed, but you still can fix it. Okay. Grade 3, those organs are descending, and they're basically for women at the opening of the vagina. So it's going to feel heavy. You're going to feel a sense of heaviness, under the belly button, on the pubic bone. And then a grade 4 prolapse actually is when one of those organs have descended outside the vaginal opening, and your organs are outside of your body. And at that point, medical intervention usually is the only fix. However, I did some work with a urogynecologist out of Reno, Nevada, and he talked about how him and his surgical colleagues do these mesh pinup surgeries, and they send women on their way with no education or information, about pelvic floor health. And sometimes these women come back 2 and 3 years later with the exact same thing. One sec. So I hope that gives you, of course, I have a little scratch in my throat. I hope that gives you a sense of the continuum, hypertonic, hypotonic, and at the end of the day, diaphragmatic breathing, whether you're on the hyper or the hypo side of the spectrum, that is the number 1 skill you can learn to start the healing process.
I thought I might need to save you there for a minute. There we go. All right, let's give you a moment to drink water and do some diaphragmatic breathing with the water. There you go. So let's pause. Usually we hold questions for the end. Let's put a quota though, kind of like a max on questions, because sometimes we can get we'll end up to a 2.5 hour show. So 3 questions. Let's take 3 questions max if we have them. If we have 3 questions, let's take a brief pause, go to just a mini Q&A. And if you have questions, let us know. And Laura, who's a VIP, so she's has red carpet access here. I'm going to bring you up on Zoom stage with us, Laura. And 1 second. Where'd you go, Laura? I'm sorry, I lost you on my... Laura was here. Oh, there you are. There you are. Okay, sorry, Laura. The hand went down, and then Zoom moved your positioning on the screen. Okay, you're with us. Hello. Good to see you. I'll give you a little link there to unmute. Yeah, Cooch ball.
So as you can see, I'm already a fan. I heard you on Ari Witten's podcast and went out and ordered this. And I just have a few questions because I've been using it. I fall in the category of too tight from all my athleticism, I guess. But is there any reason not to do it more than 3 minutes a day?
Okay, so that is such a great question, Laura. And, thanks for taking inspired action when you saw me with Ari. So here's the deal. 3 minutes a day, like the 3 minutes on the Cooch ball is kind of the special sauce for when the fascial tissue, our connective tissue, starts to allow the blood flow to get to those, to the muscles, to the nerves. And that's what we want, right? We want to create that environment for change with blood flow. So you can stay longer. Like, sometimes I'll stay 5 minutes or 6 minutes. However, it's not like it's not unsafe if you stay longer. But what I like to say is there's the law of diminishing returns, right? If you have 15 minutes, yeah, you know what? Spend 3 to 5 minutes doing your pelvic floor work. And then there's so many great things you can do with your Cooch ball in addition to the pelvic floor. So, lay on your belly and put the Cooch ball just under your belly button and give those internal organs some blood. I love using my Cooch ball. So I'm just going to stand for a second. You guys are going to lose my head, so the psoas muscle, you guys probably know the psoas muscle from your work with Robbie, right? It attaches on the inside of the leg, the inside of the thigh bone, and then it comes up through the pelvis, the bones of the pelvis, and attaches on the front of the spine. I love actually just placing my Cooch ball to the right and then to the left of my belly button and laying on it on my tummy. And then I'll roll it down and roll it down. So the psoas is, my gosh, we could do a whole show on the psoas and what that means, to pelvic floor health. So I would say if you've got a chunk of time, 100%, the pelvic floor sitting on the ball is the kind of your priority. Then the extra time you have left over, use it for other parts of your body and just experiment. Like I was laying on mine last night. I had a pretty good chest workout a few days ago, and I was just laying on my Cooch ball, just almost doing face down snow angels. And it's very different than a foam roller or a fascia release ball that's got a little bit more hardness to it. So that's what I would say. Does that help give you some guidance?
Yeah, I was going to ask you how else I could use it because I actually didn't really get instructions with it. There was a problem. I mean, I got it through Amazon and they sent me, it didn't come with the card that it was supposed to come with, and they sent me, but anyway.
Okay, here, you know what? I've been having little hiccups with Amazon. So can you, how can we, Robbie or Patricia, can you connect me with Laura so that I can get her information and then we'll be able to get her the educational materials that come with it, because that's a big part of the experience.
Yeah. Because that was the other question I had. Like, I don't have it fully inflated.
Yes, but don't. No,
never.
You know what? It's always meant to have a little bit of give because that it performs better with your nervous system. All right.
Okay. Does this seem about the right amount? I mean, or should I take some? Okay.
Seems good. No, that seems great. And I can have a little bit of it. Go ahead.
I've been using it and I really like it before I run because
good.
Because I tend to have a natural pelvic tilt. And so it definitely reminds me to tuck. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you. And that was, how to use it. And so you answered my questions. So thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. So I just wanted to add one thing, and then I'll bring Patricia up here. I need to make you a co-host. So 1 second here, Patricia. Okay, you're co-host, Patricia. I think she just wanted to say that she's going to connect you, Laura, to Jana. So yeah, she'll get that done for you guys. She'll create that connection. And then, it's just like any muscle, like you can overtrain anything, right? And if you overtrain a tissue, it's going to become inflamed. It's going to become excessively sore. And then that can lead to hypertonicity. Big time, the tissue feels guarded. Because what happens if I give you a heavy weight, or if I expose you to your body feeling unstable? What you're going to do is if I give you heavy weight, you're going to do this. You're going to hold the weight really close. So if I give you a 40-pound plate, you're going to go like this. So the muscles do the same thing. It's because they feel guarded, which is why like we teach, hey, start light, go really slow, let your body build up, because otherwise your muscles are going to just retract. So I love that, you know, your protocol, Jana's 3 minutes is brilliant. And then for you, Laura, there's a lot that you do in your regular training for pelvic floor. So just real, like all those abdominal contractions we do in relaxing the pelvic floor. And I think a big thing, you know, for all VIPs or everyone exercising really, but especially for VIPs, because you know exactly what I'm talking about, is when we contract the pelvic floor, we also need to relax the pelvic floor. And I know that's something that Jana would talk quite a bit about, but it's not just contraction, it's being able to have the full neurological control to contract and to relax. And I also love, Jana, your idea with the ball on the floor. And one way to also do that is if you know, if someone who has shoulder issues and such, you can start on the wall. And you just put the ball here, and you can lean against the wall like this. It's just a little bit less. It's a good entry point to for someone who maybe doesn't feel so stable being on the floor like that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That was awesome. And then we're going to go to Jennifer, and then we're going to go to Marilyn. So Jennifer, hello. Another VIP. Welcome to you. Let me give you a link to unmute there. So, yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hi there.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi there. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very helpful. What I'd like to do is, could you possibly do a brief demonstration? I practiced diaphragmatic breathing for many, many years because I took yoga and Pilates forever. But I'm not sure. I'd like to just have a refresher of, am I doing it correctly? Could you do a brief demonstration of that? And I have a question for Robbie.
Okay, let's do that. So I'm just going to come here on my couch. All right. So the best way that I find to do this is actually hands-on. So if you place one hand just over your belly button and one hand on this flat bone called your sternum, you now have kinesthetic or touch to be able to gauge how effective or optimal or not your breath is. All right. So what I want everyone to do is breathe in through your nose, pretending there's a bullseye painted on your bottom belly button hand. And as you inhale through your nose, send the air to that bullseye. And as you exhale, pull the belly button, melt it in toward your body, pull it away from that bullseye. Okay, I'll get to the top hand in a second. Let's just do this a few times. So inhale, get to that bullseye on that belly button hand, feel your body expand into the waistband of your pants or your shorts. And on the exhale, feel the body melt away from the waistband of your pants or shorts. If you close your eyes, you'll be able to gauge this a little bit better. This time I want you to judge, when you inhale through your nose, can you keep your top hand silent and really move that bottom hand as the belly button expands into the hand? So inhale into that bullseye. And now exhale out of your mouth. It's an HA sound. In Pilates, we do that HA. It's a little different than the Ujjayi breathing in yoga. All right. 2 more times. Inhale into that bottom hand. And on the exhale, melt the skin of your body away from your bottom hand. And very last time, inhale. And exhale. The tongue is going to be gently on the roof of the mouth when you're inhaling. All right. How does that feel, Jennifer?
Perfect. I think that refresher helped me because I think I've gotten a little bit lazy about how much this needs to stay still. Yeah. This
stays still. And for those of you who are like, oh, shoot, my top hand was really moving, you are actually who I call my little goldfish or my little guppies, because you actually have taught those neck muscles we talked about earlier. You've taught them to be your main breathing muscles. That diaphragm that's sitting in your rib cage is on a permanent vacay. So if your top hand was moving more, no biggie. That's today, right? The goal is to move from today and create moments tomorrow and then the next day and the next day. Because you know how you get momentum is by adding up a series of moments. You can't just have momentum. You have to have a moment and a moment and a moment and a moment, and you string those together for momentum. So I usually say, you know what, if you can do 10 to 12 breaths 3 times a day, especially before you eat, because this brings that rest and digest piece of your nervous system into play. You're going to eat slower. You're going to chew better. You're going to digest optimally. You're going to eliminate better. Your body's going to be able to absorb nutrients in a better way. So if you stack these 2 things together, breathing just before mealtime, it can really give you a little boost in wellness.
That ties into my second question that I had for Robbie.
Jennifer, just one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. Just 1 second. I just wanted to let everyone know that Patricia, because I'm sure everyone's very interested in the Cooch ball for females or Gooch ball for males. And Patricia will drop the link for both of those in the chat now. You have both of those, correct, Patricia? Just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, okay, awesome. So she will drop that link. So everybody knows the link is in the chat for both the Cooch for ladies and the Gooch for men is in the chat. So if you go to the chat, you can see the link for that. And Jana gives a whole like training program and system that comes with it. So it's really awesome. What is the price on it, Jana?
So that I made a special bundle for everyone here today, actually. So it's $39.95, which is what it would be at Amazon or my website. But because you're part of Robbie's community, you're going to also get what I have. It's called the Cooch Fix Pack Mini. So Laura, you're going to like this because it's how to use your Cooch ball. It's a three half-hour sessions using your Cooch ball for upper body wellness, for lower body wellness, sciatic, plantar fasciitis. There's a cellulite blast piece. And then we also use it for gut health. So that's the bonus for everyone here today, just because you are part of this amazing community.
That is amazing. Thank you, Jana. That's so cool. Thank you for doing that for us. Mm-hmm. Greatly appreciate you. And those links are in the chat now. And Jennifer, yes, ma'am. I'm happy to answer your question.
You mentioned something about gastro being connected to the pelvic floor, just briefly in the beginning. And I'm just wondering, I've just started to have gastro problems. I've never had them where I have a pain here, like I'm concerned it's a hiatal hernia thing. A lot of burping. I've never had anything like that. I'm 76 now, and I've never had anything like that.
Great question. Yeah. So the hiatus of the diaphragm, you can start to have the esophagus start to push or even go through, which is the actual hernia portion of the hiatal hernia. It's kind of like Jana was talking about, the 9 out of 10 doesn't need any kind of medical procedures to get past that. Well, fortunately, the hiatal hernia is the same way. So those who have acid reflux, those who have anything similar to what Jennifer just explained, you can do what's called heel drops, and you should do this every morning. It's highly likely, right? I can't say it's 100%, but it's highly likely that this will solve the problem. In the morning, let's start with this. In the morning, not a cold water, which I prefer cold water, and there's a whole science behind that. Some people prefer warm and cold, blah, blah, blah. Warm does relax the tissue. Okay, so in the morning, not cold, warm water. You must use warm water. Drink about 8 ounces of warm water. Give yourself a minute or two to let it all settle. And then the weight and the relaxation of drinking that warm water is going to pull on the stomach and basically help straighten out that esophagus. So what you want to do is you want to just keep good postural alignment, right? So for my VIPs, pelvic floor, neutral alignment, good posture. You could even do diaphragmatic breathing while doing, or as a VIP, you would know thoracic alignment breathing, which includes diaphragmatic breathing. Simple. Keep your spinal alignment. Your pelvis is neutral. You don't want to be big back arched or rounded when you're doing what I'm going to show you next. Okay. So stay in good postural alignment. And then you want to heel drop. You're going to literally, to your tolerance, okay, start always with anything, start light, and then you can build up intensity. You're going to drop your heel. So it looks like this. You're going to do that 30 times. And what that's going to do is it's going to help pull and straighten out and align that esophagus and fix that hiatal hernia issue. So this can also work like when you wake up, and if you wake up in the middle of the night, especially in the lying down position, you got all this acid coming in your throat and mouth, which is horrible. You can do this, very likely to solve it at that time, instead of taking all these antacids that end up wreaking havoc on your digestive system and really change the whole microflora and the digestive process. You can simply use applied biomechanics to improve that situation. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't have the regurgitation, any of that. I just have the pain. So,
okay.
And comes and goes. So this sounds really helpful. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And let me know how it goes. It's highly effective. So like an extreme percentage of individuals, you start doing that and it will fix the situation. Yeah. Thank you for your questions, Jennifer. And Marilyn, we're going to bring you up next. And another VIP. Welcome to you, Marilyn. Good to see you.
I initially put up my hand to ask how to get the Cooch ball with the instructions, so we don't have to talk about that. And interestingly, two things. From childhood, I have, which is probably a very bad habit, I could go hours. I could go most of the day without going. And I'm still like that, except if I sneeze hard or certain coughs, not all, I will have a release. And I try to do Kegels, but I have a feeling from what you said that there may be other things to do.
Yeah. So, Marilyn, in this case, what I like to teach is beyond the Kegel. And I call it beyond the Kegel because so many of us are taught that the way to do a Kegel is to visualize that you're stopping the flow of urine, right? So we squeeze and then we start the flow of urine, and we squeeze and we release. If we actually take that strategy as a way to work the muscle, that would be the same thing as Robbie saying to you, all right, we're going to do some bicep curls. And for 2 hours today, I want you to walk around your house and make a muscle and let it go, and make a muscle and let it go, and he would never, ever get you to train your muscle like that. Muscles are not like light switches, all the way on or all the way off. There is a progression. There's a range of motion. That's why we have joints, so we can move through ranges of motion. And so in a lot of cases, women end up doing Kegels and actually exacerbating their issues because they're already hypertonic. They have too much tone. And then the focus is on the stop the flow of urine. They think they're starting the flow of urine in their visualization, but those muscles really aren't relaxing. Okay. If we think about it like an elevator, you might be getting up to the 10th floor, but when you relax, your elevator might be stopping on the 5th floor instead of getting all the way down to the lobby. So that can actually make things a little worse. Were you like a teacher or a nurse, or like, tell me about this, or did you just not feel the urge to have to go to the bathroom?
I think it's twofold. I didn't feel a tremendous urge, but when I was a kid, I wouldn't go anywhere except my own house. So I would go to school all day and then race home from the bus to find the bathroom.
For sure.
Why?
Yep. Yep.
And so I sort of trained myself, and I sometimes go the whole day and go, my God, I haven't gone. But I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened.
Yeah, for sure. So can I ask, what's your hydration? Tell me a little bit about your hydration. How much water are you drinking in a day?
It varies. I'm trying to drink a lot, probably not as much because I'm much older now, and I worry about getting dehydrated. I have a few times felt like I was. Yeah. So, and it depends. I also perspire a great deal. So I used to play a lot of tennis. Now I play golf. So I would perspire a tremendous amount. So whatever I drank would be gone. I would never have to go after that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Because here's the deal. When we are not properly hydrated, like hydration works in a priority, like almost like a pyramid, right? Like our brain gets hydrated first, then our vital organs, then the tissues of our muscles, joints, bones. And like our organs can be dehydrated. And when our organs are dehydrated, instead of being like these plump grapes, right, they're like shriveled raisins. So they're not going to work as effectively. And we do need to, eliminate or, pee and eliminate regularly for our health. And so I guess what I would say to you is, the diaphragmatic breathing, this is kind of like going over and over, hitting rinse and repeat, but it really does impact so many different parts of the body. And, I hope they'll consider getting the Cooch ball, because bringing healthy blood flow to that area and just getting the kinesthetics of feeling that pelvic floor, it takes a little bit of time, can really start to change your relationship with your body. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? Like I don't even know what to look for. What am I supposed to feel, right? This is, if you've been conditioned this way, that's just the way your body functions. And as we're aging, it still doesn't have to be that way. We can improve, and it will improve things like posture. It will improve things like hip tightness while you're at it. I saw someone ask a question about sciatica. Yeah, 100%. That this work helps sciatica. A lot of sciatica is, the sciatic nerve that runs through a muscle in the glute called the piriformis. And if there's pelvic floor tension, I guarantee there's glute tension. So it's all part and parcel of just working on this part of our body. And it's like rays of sunshine. It just impacts so many other pieces of, of how we function in the day. Does that help?
Yes, but I realize I do so many things wrong. Robbie has been teaching us the thoracic breathing, which is breathing through our nose. And I'm really trying to work on that, because I probably shouldn't admit this, but I breathe 90-something% of the time through my mouth, because I have sinuses and I'm stuffed up. And so I've always breathed almost totally through my mouth. And I've had a tendency to hold my breath. Like I might play minutes of a point in tennis and hold my breath the whole time. Not intentionally, but I realize I'm doing that. So I know I have to work on the breathing, and I've been trying to do that.
So Marilyn, not at high intensity. Okay, not at high intensity. First, I'm going to give that caveat.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about mouth taping?
Taping? No.
Okay. So one of the things, and those who have, okay, so first of all, just for you and anyone else that wants to apply this method, one really good thing to do is not at high intensity, because it just keep it safe, right? But when you're under moderate or less intensity, you can start with that and then start to play little by little with higher intensities, but tape your mouth when you're exercising, moderate or less, and you'll have no other choice but to breathe through your nose, right? Start with light, make sure you're comfortable, do it for 3 minutes, then you can go to 5, then you can go to 10, and then you can, little by little, so you don't end up way over here and like, oh, I passed out from doing, no, let's avoid 100% of people having that happen, right? So start easy, but you can tape your mouth. So like, they make mouth taping. I'm a very, whatever works. Like for my personal, I like to just do it. Patty buys the special mouth tape. I just buy Scotch tape and just use Scotch tape, which you can do. So they sell mouth tape. I just use Scotch tape. You just Patty puts one piece here. I like to put one here, and you have no other choice but to breathe through your nose. And it's a really good thing. So you could try that like in your warm-ups, because why do we do any kind of movement or motion or warm-up is to get those systems functioning neuromechanically well into the more complex motions they're going to follow. So like everything Jana's teaching you in the Cooch or Gooch ball would be great to do before your training. So you start activating and getting those things part of your activation in your neurological connection. So then when you start training, you're more likely to have better connection. The breathing will be the same thing. Any areas where you have a neuromechanical weakness or deficiency or tissue really very restricted, it's best to do that before training. So that when you get into training, that biggest deficiency is upgraded, right? So that would be really awesome advice for you and anyone else to follow
I
to
have
get
been
better.
much better during the sessions because you talk about the breathing. So I'm focused on it and I'm thinking about it, but it's such an unconscious thing because I'm stuffed up all the time because of my sinuses. So
yeah, I think the more you do this, the more you're going to be able to breathe through your nose. Like anything with the body, like once you a little turns in to a little more, especially eventually it's moderate, eventually like you don't have an issue anymore. So yeah. Yes, Patricia.
Okay, so as always, my advice are never for the health, because I'm not a health expert. So I'm talking about my own experience. My nose has been a disgrace my whole entire life, pretty much, because I'm from a humid country, which is super moldy, and I had horrible breathing for the longest time of my life. So I moved to Arizona, and I'm married to Robbie, which he started teaching me all of these techniques with breathe through your nose and do all this thoracic breathing that I do a lot. And I'm still working on it because this is not a natural thing that clicks. The computer clicks with my mind. The body is a work in progress. But forcing me to close my mouth with the tape, it was miserable in the beginning because my nose is constantly plugged. It's a constant.
I'm with you. I know.
So I know it's miserable, but pushing through and getting used to that changed my life, because now Arizona is super dry. So now I had nose problem and throat problem because it doesn't have an ounce of liquid in this air here. So I will wake up because I was with my mouth open, and so my nose was bad, my throat was bad, everything was bad. Now I sleep like a little angel. I don't wake up with my nose all messed up and my mouth dry. Nope, because it's all taped. I tape everything, and I don't have a chance to be snoring and drooling and all of this funky business. Nope. So it takes a while to get used to, but when you get used to it, it's life transforming. So this
I visit Arizona a lot, and I never understood why I'm supposed to feel better there, and I don't. I always said, "Oh, my throat feels good." I don't feel better in Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona is.
I never knew why.
You are from a humid place, also. So yeah, so mouth taping in Arizona is a must for the throat. So that's goodbye.
Yeah.
Bye. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, and taping at night is amazing too. I'm just really cautious with advice I give because I want to keep 100% positive results. And of course, there's some individuals who are going to have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and other things going on, where just like a blanket, try mouth taping at night is really a dangerous suggestion, quite honestly. So yeah, like go ahead.
Be slow to do that because I wear a night guard because I've developed TMD. So
yeah,
I would be careful about that only.
But it's great to try, like sitting at your desk, doing some computer work, like try for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and let it start going into when you go on walks, letting it go into the lighter part of your exercise. Then maybe you try, if you're going to lay down for 10 minutes in the day, and like once you start to know I'm good, like it's fine, everything, then you can start to go into the night is what I would recommend. But doing it at night does show amazing results for sure. So
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to mention too that if anybody wants to really geek out about this, there's an amazing book by James Nestor. and I can't remember if it's called Breathe or Breath, but it's a yellow book. And he goes through this, exactly what we're talking about here. And he dives into, the health implications of breathing through our mouth, even that our jaws change. And there's even some Asian cultures that will, the grandmothers will make sure that the baby's mouth when they're sleeping is always closed, because they know that health will decline if you are a mouth breather. So anyone that wants to check out that book, I loved it. I highly recommend it.
And on that note, I'll share this with you guys. So as a VIP, but then I'll show how all can access this. So if you go to your VIP portal, don't worry, for those of you who aren't a VIP, I'll help you get there. But okay, so as VIPs, just go to the top of your portal, click FBF Talk Show, which is what we're doing right now. If you're not a VIP, you can simply just go to fbftalkshow.com. And if you go down the list, you will find James Nestor right here. So that'll give you the cliff notes of the book. So why being a mouth breather is bad for you, interview with James Nestor and myself. So you can find that at fbftalkshow.com. And of course, if you click on this, you'll be able to watch the episode. And
cool.
Jana, would you like to share more about maybe any subject matter that you feel like, I really wanted to share this or get into that, or would you like to continue on with questions? I'm gonna let you decide.
Sure. There's one little section of what I teach that I would love to touch on, because we really haven't, we've talked a lot about breathing, and the framework or the roadmap that I teach around pelvic floor health it's 3 Bs. So let's go through the other 2 Bs we haven't touched on, and then we can come back to questions if that's cool. Okay. All right. So we just did lots about breath, which is fantastic. Now, the 3 Bs that I teach are body position, breathing, and blood flow. Okay. That's really what you need. That's the trifecta. That's what we need to create the environment for change when it comes to improving our pelvic floor health. So body position, AKA posture. And I know, again, those of you that are here either from my community or in Robbie's community, you know that we teach posture. Here's just some really quick tips to catch yourself when you're not. All right. So in standing, you're standing in line at the grocery store, you're waiting at the ATM, wherever you might be. When our bones aren't living where they should, our muscles are just going to follow our bones. All right. So a house that is sturdy, that can withstand, maybe a light earthquake or a major storm has good bones to it, right? Or you'll hear people say they don't make houses like they used to. The bones aren't as sturdy, right? Our bones, where they live, you guys, this is posture. Okay. You see me kind of schlumping forward. That's an official posture term, is schlump in my world. It's still posture. It's where my bones are living. But if this is how I sit throughout my day when I'm working, I'm going to have neck issues, back issues, digestive issues, elimination issues, pelvic floor issues, probably some sciatic issues, and probably eventually I'll have some plantar fasciitis issues because I'm compressing everything. I'm taking space away. We need to be mindful about our posture, and easy ways to know, am I in the right posture? When you're standing, about 60% of your weight in your heels, about 40% of your weight across the widest part of your foot in those metatarsals where your toes connect into the main part of the foot. That is really optimal. And if you try it and you're like, oh my gosh, it feels like I'm going to fall backwards, it's probably because you've adopted that, ski jumping posture. Joseph Pilates, who's the creator of Pilates, back in the 1920s in his studio in New York City, would say, look at those people, their noses get to the, to the edge of the sidewalk before their feet do. And he would talk about people in the 1920s that walked with forward head, never mind the 2020s that are walking with forward head. So we need to get our head back on that invisible headrest. We need to get 60% of our weight into our heels, 40% through the widest part of our foot. And then our bones are where they should be. So our muscles get the message from the brain, what they have to do to hold those bones there or to create movement and bring those bones back to home base. So posture, even with the breath work, posture will negatively impact pelvic floor health because it's like that hammock that lives in the junction between the upper and lower body. And we need to, it's like, if, for those of you that have been to Phoenix, it's like the intersection of the 101 and the 202. There's just all those different highways, right? It's a major junction. So we need to care for the pelvic floor via our posture. And then we layer the breathing on top. And we're 2/3 of the way there. The Cooch ball is what brings the blood flow. Okay. It's just like when you have a plant, if you planted a garden this spring and you're not watering it, maybe there hasn't been enough rain, your garden may not look optimal. Plants need water. They need sunlight, right? You might even talk to your plants to give them a little bit of loving frequency. That's what our muscles are like too. So when that muscle, any muscle, is lacking oxygen-rich, nutrient-rich blood flow, that it's like, I was going to say it's like the desert, but there are some plants that grow in the desert. Those muscles are lacking. All right. So when we sit on the Cooch ball, the fascial tissue, that connective tissue that wraps around every single muscle fiber we have, kind of hugs like a boa constrictor snake. And if you're dehydrated and overcaffeinated, that muscle and fascia that should glide like a little kid sliding down a water slide is like sticky Velcro. We need to get a blood flow supply to that area. And then once we have proper posture, proper breathing, and adequate blood flow, now we can actually change the map, the roadway in the brain. There's a main nerve that goes from our brain to the pelvic floor. It's called the pudendal nerve. It's a nerve that sends messages. So it's a motor nerve, and it's also a sensory nerve. So it feels good, and it also creates feelings that are not so good. We need to provide the environment so that that nerve can be like an interstate, not like a dirt road after a heavy rain. Okay. And that's all part of the breathing, the posture, and the blood flow. So I just wanted to make sure you understood that there is a very simple framework for pelvic floor health that plugs into everything else that you're doing here with Robbie and, outside in your activities of daily living. It doesn't have to be more complicated. When you understand it, it's actually quite simple. It's not easy, but there should be ease. And, the last piece before we open up questions again is going back to breathing through our nose. Did you know that the tissue in our nose is basically the exact same tissue as like the tissue on our nipples and the genital tissue? It's the same. So our body makes a molecule called nitric oxide, which helps to increase blood flow throughout the body when we breathe through our nose. All right. Nitric oxide just happens to be what Big Pharma has created in a lab and put into a pill for men and called it Viagra or Cialis. There is a whole bunch of lab-made nitric oxide in a Viagra pill. And that's why for some men, they have an erection for hours and hours and hours, because it's a major download. Our body has the ability to do that when we breathe through our nose. So it's body position. When you're sitting, you want to make sure those bony butt bones become your feet. All right. That's seated posture optimization. It's body position, it's breathing, and it's blood flow. And it really actually is that simple.
You're muted, Rob.
That is brilliant, Jana. Thank you. That creates a lot of clarity, I believe. And exactly. That's all I'll say for that is exactly like is brilliant. Exactly. And, that's one of the things I love about what you do is because, we all have different areas of the body, pelvic floor being one that we all need to address. And especially when you get beyond the age of 50, you really need to address it. So it deserves it's some of your special attention. It deserves the Cooch ball, the Gooch ball, and specific training to then incorporate to everything else you're doing. But then at the same time, exactly what you just said, breathing, posture, and the proper pelvic floor activation, hydration. That's exactly. That's awesome. Let's go to you. Would you like to go to questions again?
Yeah, let's go to some questions.
Okay. So Susan is up next. Patricia, if you could bring Susan up with us. Hello,
Hi.
Susan. Welcome.
Hi, Susan.
Thank you, Jana. This has been very interesting. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I admit I was ordering the Cooch ball while Robbie was, because I wasn't sure how long the link would be there. So I was ordering the Cooch ball where Robbie was explaining how he was doing the warm water. Could you just kind of just very briefly go through that again, Robbie?
Yeah. Oh, the hiatal hernia fix, the heel drops. Sure. So 8 ounces of warm water in the morning. In the morning's a good time. You first get up, your stomach's empty. So 8 ounces warm water.
Okay.
And then you just keep good postural alignment. So pelvis neutral. And then you're just going to drop your heels pretty forcefully. I would, as anything, start light, make sure your back, everything feels good with it. Do it to your comfort. But it is intended to be pretty forceful. So you're just going to simply hold good posture. You can have hands on the pelvis or not. And you're simply just going to do 30. You're going to do 30 heel drops, one at a time. Keep good balance, alignment. And this will help create that mechanical alignment. It's basically, the stomach has weight in it, the tissues are relaxed, and you're literally pulling your esophagus out and getting that hiatal hernia and the pressure and the misalignment at the esophagus at the point of the diaphragm. You're getting that to realign is basically what you're doing. And little by little, it fixes that. And what happens is that the flap that allows stomach acid to come from the stomach and up, or keep stomach acid from going up, it starts to get fixated, closed, and works how it ideally is supposed to work, which doesn't let acid come back up. So that's how it works. Great thing to do in the morning, but also if you have any issues at night, you could try the method at night as well.
I guess the question I have, so you drink 8 ounces of warm water right away. You don't sip on it through these 30 heel drops.
No, it's first. That's step one.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, step one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then Lori asked a question, and I feel like maybe others might have the same question. And Lori, let me look at my gallery here so I can just see if I don't know if you're on video. Patty, is Lori on video? I saw she had a question. It was their question was, earlier there was conversation around the Cooch ball based on someone's personal question. Can you rewind and tell us what it is? So maybe we missed a little clarity on that. So Jana, would you like to answer that question? I'll read it again.
There was a question.
There was conversation around the Cooch ball and Gooch ball based on someone's personal question. And can you rewind? Tell us what is the Cooch ball? What is the Gooch ball? What's it going to do for us? Why do we kind of just got into it and skipped over it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the Cooch ball. It is a co-branded product. So if you turn it around, it says Gooch ball. So don't be alarmed. It's one and the same. That way men and women can use it. I wanted to create a pelvic floor fitness tool that someone could throw in their gym bag, throw in their suitcase, have, in their basket in front of their TV of their wellness tools, to be able to bring blood flow to the pelvic floor. That's what I felt through my almost 20 years of working in movement that I felt was missing. I wanted a tool that could be used in conjunction with pelvic floor physiotherapy. I wanted a tool that was fun and sassy. And so I called it the Cooch ball and the Gooch ball. And I wanted to show people that it was actually easy to care for their body via the pelvic floor. So it's a 5-inch diameter ball. It has a utility and a design patent. So what you don't see is over the bladder, the rubber bladder of the ball, we found a really unique nylon thread. And we found that when we wrap the bladder of the ball in different geometrical ways, and then put the blue covering on the ball, it actually gives the ball a little more substance or consistency than, let's say, like, you know, a Spider-Man ball you might get at a department store, right? In the kids' toy section. So it's built for the body. And when we sit on the ball, so pubic bone, anus, you basically sit right between, all right? So I can feel my sit bones on either side of it. You can sit on your couch. You can sit on the floor. You can sit on your mattress. It doesn't really matter. What you need to understand is that when you first start this, there's going to be something that I like to call the ouch factor, because there's not someone on this planet that has like this perfect situation in their pelvic floor. The higher the ouch factor, the more dysfunction or the more unhealthy this area of the body is. It's lacking blood flow. It's lacking the messaging through the pudendal nerve. All right. Then we add the diaphragmatic breathing, all right, that we did earlier. When you're on the Cooch ball, when you inhale in through your nose. On the exhale, I bring the elevator up from the lobby. I'm lifting the pelvic floor on the exhale. The inhale is coming back to the lobby. I'm lifting, picking up a grape with my vagina. For guys, I've heard, like, if you think of walking into a lake first, you know, early spring, the water gets 3/4 the way up the thigh. It's the lifting of the scrotum. Okay. So that's what you're doing for 3 minutes. So this is why the Cooch ball helps the entire continuum of bodies. If you have a pelvic floor that's too tight, hypertonic, this is going to give you the release you need so that blood flow can come in, nurture the muscles. If you are on the hypotonic side of the spectrum and you are lacking tone, it's going to be, you know, the lifting part of it for you is going to be the challenge. The lowering, you'll have no problem, right? Because that pelvic floor will just slam back down because of the lack of tone. So again, for the hypertone, you're going to have an easy time lifting, but a more challenging time lowering. And for the hypotone, you're going to have more challenge lifting and easy on the lower. We just want to start to work this beautiful balance between the lift and the lower when you're on the Cooch ball. So 3 minutes is kind of a magic number that research tells us that where the fascial tissue starts to respond to any sort of intervention with a foam roller or a tennis ball, or in this case, the Cooch ball, all right? Your breath is your guide. If you find yourself holding your breath or your breath is erratic, you got to come off, all right? Some of my clients start with 10 seconds. That's all they can handle on a couch, because this takes a bit of the brunt of the ball. We never fill the ball all the way up. It's not that it's unsafe. It's just less impactful. We want the ball to absorb the weight of the body, and we don't want those alarm bells, the sympathetic nervous system, to start pumping out cortisol because they think this is unsafe, right? And that's why the breath is so critical, because your breath is your communication to your brain telling it, no, I'm good. I'm choosing this. And here's the thing about the ouch factor. Sometimes we fear pain because we don't know what has caused it. Why is my knee bugging me? I didn't do anything to my knee. Why is it swollen? Why am I retaining fluid? That's very different than if it's too much, you just come off, right? So you actually become almost more of a pain seeker. How much can I manage while I'm still breathing in this very calm way? That completely reframes the healing that happens through using your Cooch and Gooch ball. And then it's just a matter of, can you be compliant? Can you make yourself feel like you're worth 3 minutes a day? It's like good oral hygiene. You don't brush your teeth just once a week. You do this once a week. No, probably not going to do much for you. But if you can consistently get on this every single day, you know, gang, I've had moms buy this for their 10, 11-year-old sons and daughters that are still wetting the bed. A lot of times that's a tight pelvic floor for those little people. All right. So pelvic floor issues do not discriminate between a certain age or if I've had a baby. No, not at all. My husband swears by it. He's going to be 50 coming up in August. He can tell when he hasn't been consistent, his bladder won't empty as fully. And he swears he can get 20 extra yards off that first tee when he's golfing because his hips are more, are more open. His psoas is more open. So I hope that, Lori, that gives you more clarity on what this little tool is.
Thank you, Jana. That was super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And let's go to, okay, so what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to open up to questions. And for the close of the show, are you okay with that, Jana?
I am.
Okay. So Carolyn's had her hand up for a bit, so she gets to go first. And then I'm going to welcome everyone to participate. But if you're a VIP and you raise your hand now, I'll let you go first because you're a VIP. But Carolyn's going to go first. She's been waiting patiently for quite a while. And we're going to bring her up on the Zoom stage. And this will be the last segment of the show. Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I had a couple questions. My husband and I are both listening, and nothing has really been said much about the men. And he did have his bladder shut down. And then a doctor recommended Jana, and then I ordered the ball from her. And I didn't quite understand what we were supposed to do, but what she just said did give me some clarity. By breathing and sitting on it, that's the main goal.
That's the main goal. So did you get your postcard with your ball?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it
so
said, feel the ball, place the ball, sit on the ball, and breathe.
And then do you see the little QR code on there where you can go and get that's where you go and you get so I have 2 courses, one for women called Create Your Pelvic Floor Upgrade and one for men called Gooch Power. That's where you'll go and you'll be able to log in just like you do here in Robbie's world. And you'll have a whole dashboard of resources that both you and him can use.
So use the scan.
Yeah. You can use the scan. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, swollen prostate.
Yeah, so here's the deal. It's important to know that everybody is different. Okay, so if I'm not a doctor, I'm not a specialist, so I always say that it's a good idea to check in with your medical team, whomever that is, because they know your bodies better than I do. And I've had men have great success post prostate cancer, swollen prostate, erectile dysfunction, and they all use the ball in a little bit of a different way. So, I gave you kind of the basic way to feel it. So it's kind of a little bit squishy. If this is too much, and how will you know it's too much? Well, your breath will tell you, right? If you can't find that beautiful calming inhale and exhale, it's not one of those no pain, no gains. I'm just going to stay and then it'll get better tomorrow. What I actually want you to do at that point is the little needle that came with your pump. Mm-hmm. You're going to take it off the pump and you're going to put the needle back into the valve and you're going to take a little bit of air out of the ball and you're going to find that sweet spot. Okay. I would say with swollen prostate, you are going to want to use something soft. You're not going to want to go right on the floor. And what I can also say is, and I just answered this in my Facebook group this morning. A woman was asking me, she has a skin condition and she's like, I am so scared to sit on this Cooch ball. And I was like, you know what? Then don't. Because if your brain is already kind of in fight or flight mode, the experience is not going to be positive at all. So what I would say is start slow, start with, like I said, even 15 or 20 seconds, focus on the breath. I like to actually coach my clients to just even close their eyes, like get rid of the visual stimulation, turn the TV off, and just really connect into the body. And if the body says no, thank you, via holding the breath or, sharp or shooting discomfort, then that's it for today. Like I think I was telling Marilyn earlier, you can use this in other ways, right? Laying on it for your belly, you can on the back of your neck, for those of you that have jaw tension, TMJ. So it's almost like just getting used to using it with your body. Let your brain get used to you using it in different parts. And then you just happen to make the pit stop where you're sitting on it to work the pelvic floor and those pelvic organs. Does that help, Carolyn? Give you some?
Yeah, and I have, mine is intercystitis and bladder tingling sensations, and quite often I never have an infection or anything like that. It's just the stinging and the burning from time to time. And
have you been
I have to go a lot.
Okay, have you been on your ball?
I have, and he has too, but we weren't sure what we're supposed to be doing with it.
Yep. So check out, I mean, this will give you a little bit more. I always like to help people understand that it's not an immersion, right? See this as layering, right? Like here's another layer of information. Maybe you'll even come back and watch this. I really recommend you guys watching both the Create Your Pelvic Floor Upgrade and the Gooch Power courses. My husband, Jason's in the Gooch Power course, and he actually, through me, takes guys through, how to properly use this and the breathing. And so that'll give you the next layer of information, and your body can start to respond to it that way.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah. And I think it's beautiful what you're sharing about the connection with the body. So that's a large part of what we teach in the VIP training system. Is I want to focus on, because it's really easy to skip over. I think everyone with like anything fitness, they're like, oh, fitness means like and be like all in and like super extreme. Like, no. First of all, like calm down, take a deep breath. Like we're going to create health in your body. Like, I think that's one of the number one ways where any level of fitness goes wrong. Is most individuals that have that kind of approach, and a lot of our VIPs when they first start think like this. And we have our whole welcoming event. Half is it about like, I want you to take it easy. I want you to take it comfortable. Why? Just because of safety? Yeah, safety is really important. We don't want you getting hurt. But it's because of the somatosensory and limbic system. Simple terms, your emotion is combined with your motor mechanics. Even simpler, your emotions combined with how you feel with your body and how your tissues function and how you react to the world. Okay. So think about yourself as an organism, or maybe even like an alien that's in a different world and comes to this world, and you're going to have new experiences. And like when things touch your body or you feel, you're going to react, you're going to get pain, you're going to get all kinds of symptoms. So if you do workouts where you like push through, there's going to be negative effects. They're going to show up in pain. They're going to show up in muscle stiffness and weakness, and the motor system is going to decrease its connection with the body. And then it's going to make that part of your pain response is going to be within those tissues that you're doing that with. So I think it's really important what you're saying, Jana, in terms of like relax. Like your first thing to do when you get on Jana's ball is to feel. It's not even about the action, it's to feel and to connect, because we have two major types of motor control. Okay. First is afferent. So it's sensory, sensing what's happening. And then we have efferent. So first you have to sense what's happening. That's both emotion and actual positioning and alignment and all these things. So that's your first level. If you skip that, you're going to skip the motor part. So once you have good connection, then it becomes the motor action. That's where you actually do something, you actually activate, you actually create a muscle contraction. You're really doing something beyond just feeling. So I think it's really important that everyone understands how important that feeling and connection with the body side is before the actual actions happen. So I love what you're sharing with that, Janet. So important. And next up, we have Rivka. Hi, Rivka, another VIP. Big warm hug and welcome to you.
Thank you.
Hi, Rivka.
Hi, Jana. I may have missed, but when you're sitting on the Cooch ball and you are bringing the pelvic floor up, are you inhaling or exhaling?
You're exhaling as you lift, and you're inhaling as you lower. Yeah.
Okay, because I heard it opposite, and that would be opposite to what we're learning in thoracic breathing. So it's consistent. Exhale is the, no, wait. Say it again.
So the exhale phase is the rise.
Okay.
The phase is the lower.
Okay, then it's consistent.
Yeah.
Right, Robbie? I keep getting,
Yes.
you know,
No, it's, and just so like,
yeah.
So we have some VIPs and not, so those in attendance that aren't VIPs are like, what is this thoracic alignment breathing? I've heard like 5 times. So just a quick side note so thoracic alignment breathing is something we do in our VIP training system, which includes diaphragmatic breathing, which includes the pelvic floor that Jana's talking about, but it also includes a whole thoracic alignment, spinal alignment. So without getting into too many details, but to create clarity for VIPs, the breathing that Jana's talking about matches perfectly. The diaphragmatic breathing and the pelvic floor activate is like a subcategory of the thoracic alignment breathing, the thing that we're adding. So when Jana's talking about exhalation, what she's saying is pelvic floor is coming up because diaphragm's coming up when you're exhaling, right? The diaphragm comes up because the lungs are decreasing their volume, right? And then when you're breathing in, the diaphragm's dropping down, the pelvic floor is relaxing, coming down and out. So you're creating this abdominal space and cavity when you're breathing in. That's why the lower abdomen should come out, pelvic floor relax, and then you're contracting your lower abdomen. It's coming in, the diaphragm's coming up. And then in thoracic alignment breathing, you're also adding that you're straightening your upper back or thoracic spine while you're getting this perfect alignment, right? So there's some other things that we apply to it. It's a little bit more complex. I don't want to confuse anyone, but the breathing does match it exactly. That's the important take.
I'm so glad, because it's challenging to learn that proper breathing, and that it's consistent and brings in the pelvic floor is so in line with what you're teaching, Robbie. So I really appreciate that they match. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Rivka. And any other final questions or anything we didn't answer or cover? And just want to make sure everyone was completely aware. Patricia will drop the link one more time here for the Cooch and Gooch ball. And you don't have to do anything specific other than just go to the link. And she has a full training system with the Cooch and Gooch ball that comes with this. So that's a special package that she's included for getting the ball in this session live with us. You're going to get that training system with it as well. So and Patricia will drop that link again here. Make sure everyone has access to that here in the chat. And let's just make sure we've covered all the questions before we exit. So, oh yeah, Terry Anya. If you want to bring up Terry Anya with us, Patricia. Oh yeah, and so for anyone, so the way we do hand raising is you click on reactions and a box opens, and then we click raise hand, or you can wave your hand in the camera. So, okay. And then Patricia, did you see Terry Anya? I'll bring her up. I see you, Terry. 1 second. There we go. Whoops.
Got
it. 1 second.
There she is.
There she is.
Am I hearable?
Yes, you're unmuted.
Oh,
Yes.
I was clicking the wrong thing apparently, and it kept coming up and going down. And I said, I'm being discriminated against. Never happened before. Anyway, I do have questions. One was already answered. I was thinking, how is a Gooch ball different than a Cooch ball? And does it have to do with anatomy and what do they sit on and stuff like that? Now I know. But so I do have a bladder prolapse, not stage 4. I will ask, like on Monday when I see my pelvic floor therapist, what stage I'm in, please. But I also have a rectal prolapse. And so I'm wondering, A, is there any reason not to use a Cooch ball because of that? My sense is that it's kind of close to the outside, but I don't know really. I can't crawl in there and see. But it also is the Cooch ball, can that be useful for a rectal prolapse? I'm guessing that it could go either way.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fantastic that you have a pelvic floor physiotherapist, Tarianya, because I think so many people don't, and that should be a part of our arsenal of,
yes.
of
all time in May, but I still haven't. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Amazing. So here's the thing. I alluded to this earlier, but I'll clarify. When we are working our pelvic floor, even through the simplicity of diaphragmatic breathing, the pelvic floor includes the muscles that support, the rectum as well, the anus. And so when we are exhaling out of our mouth, and think of that elevator lifting, we're not bypassing those muscles at all. When you can do a proper pelvic floor contraction, you're going to be supporting the muscles of the pelvic floor from a vaginal perspective, and the muscles of the pelvic floor from an anal perspective as well. I would say the clients that I've worked with, we start slow. We actually take more air out, and we just see how it goes. We start for maybe 30 seconds. And if there's discomfort, I wish there was a one size fits all, but there's not. Listen to your body, see how it feels coming off. I have had great success with people who are using the ball from both perspectives. But like I said, your pelvic floor physiotherapist would be an excellent person to also loop into this conversation when you see them on Monday, and and see what their perspective would be as well.
Okay, that answers it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you for your questions, Terry. And then we're gonna take maximum of 2 more questions out of respect to Jana's time here, and then we're going to close out the session. It's been a long session, wonderful. I hope you've all learned a tremendous amount. So we're going to take just 2 more questions here. And Murph, I'm going to go ahead and give you the opportunity to connect with us here. We don't see your video, but that's all right. I'm sure we'll be able to hear you okay. And you're unmuted. Go ahead when you're ready.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, our video doesn't work. We need a new computer. My question was, if you had a total hysterectomy and then for others a partial hysterectomy, is there a difference in terms of what you do or how much air or specific exercises, or do you see a difference? And then the second question is, how does that impact your lymphatic system?
All right, so I haven't seen a difference with partial or full. Again, the body is so different. That's why this ball doesn't come, without a valve. It comes with a valve. If you need to add more air, you can. If you need to take some air out, you can. The pelvic floor is connected to the diaphragm. The fact that the uterus isn't there doesn't really change the strategy, I guess, around pelvic floor wellness from this perspective. All right. Clearly from this perspective. From a lymphatic perspective, I think the Cooch ball aids in lymphatic moving the lymph fluid around, lymphatic drainage, because the lymph system does not have its own pump. All right. We need to use diaphragmatic breathing. We need to use movement. We need to use things like dry brushing. We need to, when you understand that there's higher concentrations of lymph tissue, in through the neck, under the armpit, in the groin, behind the knee, that's when you can really optimize that system of the body. So simply using your Cooch ball consistently, getting into that diaphragmatic breathing will give the lymph system a little bit of a boost.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question, Murph. And yeah, think about it. That's why. So one of the biggest things that happens, even going on a 8-hour plane flight or 6-hour plane flight, what is the one thing that happens? You should move or do toe taps. Why? because when you don't move, you start to retain fluid. Now, being on the plane is a little different, but even without movement, someone who's in a hospital bed, they start to get drainage because of lack of movement and functionality. So it's really, think about that, how important movement is. And the same thing happens with this area of your body. So last question, Marcy, hopefully your camera's not working, but that's no problem. Hopefully we'll be able to hear you. I'll give you the link to unmute there. And we'll go with the last question here, and then we'll leave the session open. And while you're getting unmuted there, I just want to let everyone know one more time that we will keep the link here in the chat so that anybody who wants to access the Cooch or Gooch ball and the great training system that Jana has around that, you can access it through the chat. And go ahead, Marcy.
Okay. When I'm walking, especially when I'm going downhill, I tend to leak. Is there anything I can do to alleviate that during my walk?
Tell me a little bit, what's the pace you're going at? Are you going for a good, like your heart rate's coming up, or is this leisure? I need to understand a little bit more.
I'm trying to raise my heartbeat a bit. Yes.
Yep. Okay. And does the leaking happen as soon as you're on that decline, or is it once you get toward the bottom when you've been, fatiguing a little bit?
No, it's pretty close to when I start, and when I level out or when I'm going uphill, I don't have any problem.
Yeah. Okay. So here are a few things you can try again. And Marcy, I have no idea if this is going to work, but we're just going to play around with movement. Okay. So, just, as you're approaching your hill, I want you to, first of all, just either, whether it's a little mantra, like, I'm so excited to walk down this hill. It's going to be so invigorating to walk down this hill. We're just going to start cheering on our brain a little bit. And then I just actually want you for the next couple of, week or 2 weeks, I want you to slow your pace. Okay. Think of it like interval training. Okay. So maybe you're kind of hoofing her when you're just on the level ground. And then when you get to the decline, just go a little slower, focus a little bit on, the foot, we call it the bone rhythm of the feet. So really focus on your heel, your heel striking on the sidewalk or the asphalt or the path. And then, the baby toe side of the foot and the big toe, like we're going to distract your pelvic floor in a way. You're going to focus on how big are my steps? What if, we're going to play around. What if I took shorter strides? What if I took longer strides? What if going down that hill, you maybe decided to turn and do a little sidestep one way and a little sidestep the other way. And we're just going to play with movement, and we're going to see how the pelvic floor responds to that. Then you're going to get back to your level ground and away you go. I feel like if you're already anticipating, and it might be unconscious, I'm not saying that you're focusing on, oh my gosh, I'm going to start to leak. Those thoughts may not even be in your mind, but if they're planted in your subconscious, they are going to, right? Everything happens twice, first in your mind and then in reality. So let's make sure that we are setting ourselves up or setting you up for success going down that hill. Some people might have the same issue going uphill, right? We're changing the trajectory of our gait. And my sense is that there's probably some hypertone there. So when you're changing the angle, remember I told you 60-40 is that optimal weight bearing. Well, when you're walking downhill, you are taking, unbeknownst to you, more weight into the front of the foot. The quads are working as a braking system. The psoas is working as the braking system. And for some people, those are big supporters of the pelvic floor. And when you've taken them away because you've given them a job, the pelvic floor is kind of left to fend for itself. So that's my suggestion, is just, play with the movement as you're in your locomotion and getting your movement from the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill.
Okay, I'll try that. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
I love your suggestions, Jana, and that one, another amazing one.
Good.
So this has been an amazing show. This has been great. I'm sure everyone's absolutely loved our time here together, and I know you have all learned a lot. Again, I want to let everyone know the link is in the chat. What we'll do at the very end when we actually close out the show is we'll keep the meeting open for about 10-15 minutes. just so if you want to access the link or if you have any difficulty with that, you have some time to do so. And with that being said, Jana, I want to give you a really heartfelt, warm thank you for being here. And I want to let everybody know that in 5 weeks, we have the Full Body Fix event. So the Full Body Fix event is where we go toe to head to optimize all of your biomechanics. We look at your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, your back, everything from toe to head. And we help you self-analyze and figure out where you need to make improvements and exactly what the exercise protocols are for you to make those improvements. That event is totally free and it starts July 22nd. Patricia will drop the link in the chat now. You can also access that through the chat here. And I'm really happy to have connected with everyone here and had this time together. And what I would like to do now is something very special, and that is Patricia is going to give everyone the capability to unmute themselves. And what I want you to do is please thank our amazing Jana Danielson for being here with us and sharing her wisdom with us. So if you would please unmute yourself now. Patricia's given you the ability to do that. And if you would please unmute yourself and just share whatever you'd like to share with Jana for being such a great expert for us here today.
You
Go
guys
ahead.
are awesome.
Thank
We
you.
so
Thank you.
appreciate
Jana.
Thank
you so
very
much.
much,
So informative.
Thank
Jana,
you.
Patricia.
Much
Thank you very
love.
much.
Can't wait
great.
for the replay.
Thank you
Thank you
for
for your
being so
passion.
real, Jana. We love you.
Really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for amazing show.
Improvements. Thank you for a therapy I can sit on my couch doing.
Thank you, Jana. You are absolutely amazing and you're such a giving person. Thank you so much for coming here to our house and educating all these beautiful people for free and out of the goodness of your heart. Thank you. Thank you.
We love you.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys, that I was not expecting that. So a little, a little emotion there. Thank you so much. I mean, if I can help one person each day that I'm on this earth to live a better life or to learn something, then I've done my job. So thank you for saying yes to this invitation. Robbie and Patricia, you two are gold, and I'm so glad that our paths have crossed. And I'm sure we'll be seeing more of each other, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
I can't wait to buy the kit. I'm
Make it a
about
great
to order
weekend.
it.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bless you guys.